What's up, you data-hungry Amazon sellers? This is your host, Tommy Berenger of the Sell, Rank, Win podcast from Merchant Words. And in this podcast, we give you the answers to your most burning questions, actionable insights that you can take away and implement into your business today. So let's go ahead and dive right into today's episode. What do you say? Let's go. All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Sell, Rank, Win podcast, everybody. In today's episode, I speak to a strategy and investment firm CEO. Now, we do speak a lot about the current state of affairs in regards to business and what new industries are going to explode, maybe some that are going to go away. And then towards the end of the podcast, he gives us some feedback on what he would sell on Amazon if he was an Amazon seller himself. Very, very interesting stuff here. So definitely stick around to the end. So let's go ahead and dive in. Here we go. And we are recording. Alrighty. All right. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to the Sell, Rank, Win podcast. I am your host, Tommy Berenger. And as always, we have a very, very, very special guest on with us today. He is the entrepreneur's entrepreneur. He first founded his own intellectual property management SaaS company called iPendo back in 2005, which then ended up being acquired by CPA Global. From there, he helped grow CPA Global's valuation from $750 million to then being acquired for $7.5 billion. He also has his master's in applied physics and is a patent attorney. He is now the founder and CEO of his own strategy and investment firm called Yobi Partners. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce you to my brother from another mother, Tony Nejum. How are you today, Tony? Coming from us, I think from Sweden today, right?
That's true. Yeah. Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah.
Good to be on the show.
Pleasure to have you on. We're really happy you joined us today and took the time out of your day to
My pleasure.
To join us on here. So what do you say? You want let's get started. What do you say?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So tell us a bit about yourself and your journey from an engineer and a patent attorney to investment firm CEO.
Yeah, well, life has got its ways. It wasn't really planned at all, but I always knew I wanted to do stuff on my own and kind of like pave my own way in life. So honestly, both education, university studies, and whatever jobs I took, it wasn't nothing of it that was really planned. But one thing leads to the other. So whenever you see opportunities, you jump on them. And the first time it happened was really when I was working as a patent attorney at this law firm in Sweden, and this was back in 2004. Where I saw, there's very little digital happening in that very old industry. And I thought I wanted to do something about it. And I left the firm together with another attorney, and we started a company called iPendo. And, we did that for about 6 years, and we grew the company to over 100 people almost. And we managed to sell it then to the one of our biggest competitors. Was based in Jersey, a company called CPA Global. At the end of 2011. And I ended up moving to Jersey, Channel Islands in 2012, and thinking I'm going to be there for a few months. And then, things changed very quickly, and we got acquired by a private equity firm, and another journey started for almost 8 years. So I stayed there, and we sold the business now in 2020 last year. And I left the firm about almost a year ago now. And started my own company, like I said, Yobi Partners, and doing investments in small tech startups, all kind of industries, and that's really my passion. So that's where I am now.
That's awesome, and I'll go ahead and give our listeners a little bit of our history as well and how I met Tony. So I used to be a music producer, songwriter, artist way back in the day, and I met Tony through one of my partners. At our studio in Los Angeles. And he took a liking to us and then came on eventually as our manager. And we were actually out in Sweden at his IP firm or management company, Ipendo. We were over there. He took us around. I mean, Sweden is a beautiful place. We're actually in Malmo or Malmö, right? I think that's how you
That's
pronounce
true.
it.
Malmö, yeah.
So love that place. But yeah, so we were out there, saw everything, basically from the ground up over there into where he is now, and it's just amazing. But
So
yeah, just
you even made the theme song for my company, remember?
that's right, we did. We wrote the theme song for your company. That's right.
There you go.
It was called Patented, I think, right?
Exactly, exactly. I'll
Maybe
never
we'll,
forget when I came back home from the office and I opened the door and I thought I went into the wrong apartment. It was like a DJ set and
yeah,
people were playing music loudly. I was like, where am I?
we had all our DJ equipment set up in his apartment in Malmo.
Yeah,
It was craziness. Yeah, it was great. It was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun for sure.
indeed.
Oh man. Yeah, so that was a little bit of background on me and Tony. I mean, sheesh, we've known each other since 2005, 2006, something like that.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah,
Little,
exactly. Around the
little,
time,
a
I think
little,
a
a
year
little too
after I
long for
started.
you. A little too
Yeah,
long for you. Is that what it was? Is
I'm,
that
I'm,
what that
I'm,
look was?
I'm getting too old, Tom. I'm getting too old. No, it was good, but that's a typical part of the story of my life. I jump on board things that I knew nothing about the music industry, and I remember that year it was around Christmas time when you asked me to manage you guys, and thought to myself like, what am I doing? I know nothing about this, and I don't have really the time. I'm running a startup company here,
Yeah.
but I thought it was really interesting. I liked the team, and I ordered 7 books from Amazon on music management and artist management and publishing, all kind of stuff, and read over a couple of weeks, read all the books, and gave me a good background. And then I remember we went out touring, and we went to London and
Hmm.
Stockholm, all kind of stuff. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a good
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely was a good journey for sure. And then there's always, something ends and something new begins, right? So now here I am at a total 180 here working as a product manager, podcast host, and Amazon expert at a SaaS company, So
There
and
you
then
go.
now you are you're the CEO of a, strategy and investment firm, which is
Uh,
awesome, which I am invested in some of the companies that he has under his firm, by the way. So which is awesome.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
all right. So let's move on here. So something I really, which I asked you before, and this kind of how this podcast came to fruition is I was texting you and I said, what industries do you see never making a well, given our current state of, from this global pandemic, what's happening? There's a huge paradigm shift happening, and I want to see your take on what industries you see will never make a comeback, which will grow exponentially, and what new markets will open up.
Yeah, it's a very big question. To be honest, well, 2 things. This is really what I'm doing on a daily basis, looking into the future and trying to figure out where the world is going. Uh, Honestly, the pandemic didn't really change things. I think it mainly just accelerated things. None of the things that are happening now wouldn't have happened in the long term. I think it just maybe brought a bunch of things forward, especially, of course, the first things we're starting to see now is digital, where people are ordering everything online. And of course, data for these companies become a massive thing. And the digital transformation, both in B2C and B2B, is massively important. Some of like in the industry I just left, like the legal tech industry, a lot of law firms have not been prepared. They're still using, on-premise software. Some of them are not even having software. They're still using paper. And now in lockdown, they can't go to the office. They can't actually do their work. So it's been a wake up call for a lot of large organizations that this world is not going to change. There's a generation shift as well happening. Younger attorneys in this case, or any industry, these guys want to work from home or from the beach or somewhere else sometimes, and the flexibility needs to be there, and that's why they need to have the right tools and connectivity needed. So digital transformation in itself has been a theme for a few years now. I think this is the decade for it, to make it happen. But the pandemic definitely has accelerated that. But generally, I mean, there are a number of different both technology I would say, infrastructure or paradigm shifts in technologies that are happening and been happening for many years. We're hearing about it more and more now, but it's actually we've been using it for quite some time. A lot of people talk about AI, of course, and machine learning and deep learning, which again, it's been Amazon has been using it for a long, long time. Of course, Apple, Facebook, Google, all of these companies are using them in their software. Netflix in their recommendation engine. So everything that we're using online now from big tech companies is basically using AI and machine learning to give us what we want as quickly and as easily as we want it, even sometimes before we know it ourselves. That piece is just going to continue accelerating, and it will be combined with a number of other technology areas. You probably heard about computer vision. Obviously, you've invested in a couple of those companies. So computer vision is basically given using cameras to get sight and being able to do calculations on images and videos and so on, understanding what's happening in real life and in the real world, compared to everything we do digitally now. You go on a website, you go on a social media or somewhere else, you're being tracked. Everyone knows exactly where you are, what you're doing, can get
Scary.
data. Yeah, and that's the
That's
life
the
we're
way,
living.
right? That's what's happening. That's what's happening.
Exactly, and that's really what you guys do as well, right? That's the service you're offering. You're collecting a lot of data, getting insights, and providing actionable insights to your clients. And but if you compare that to the physical world, there's not really much. We don't really know how many people go to a certain mall in a certain city at which time, what are their buying habits, which restaurants they eat at, and
Right.
what demographic is going that. Is that men or women or what age, or what cars do they drive, and all of that stuff. So you're going to see a lot of this computer vision and AI combination entering retail, airports, like the public sector, whether it's malls or football stadiums,
Mhm.
anywhere where there's going to be a lot of people going. That is obviously a hot area. Restaurants, cafeterias, but now with the pandemic, we're starting to see some additional usage areas or application areas where this distancing, social
Yep.
distancing, is one of those that we're starting to see a lot of clients asking about, and so it's just accelerating all of that, getting understanding of your demographic and client base and kind of like the habits of people in the physical world using computer vision and AI
Like
to
Google
build.
Analytics for the physical world.
Absolutely, absolutely. As you know, you know one of those companies that we work with in Deep North and in Silicon Valley. It's another company here in Stockholm called Universes that we also work with. These guys do moving cameras for smart cities, so like detecting things in the city, like potholes or roadworks or things like that, traffic signs, snow issues somewhere, or populations of people in a certain place in the city. So all of these things are being done manually today or not being done at all. And now you can literally automate that using a normal cell phone in a car.
Yeah. That's
Um,
awesome. Yeah. So digital. So
so digital,
all
yeah,
investments
absolutely.
in digital AI, all that stuff, all that good fun stuff.
Yeah, so that's one major area. Another one is, of course, energy and climate, which there's a lot of effort. Of course, I mean, you can just look at the Tesla share price over the past
Yeah.
couple, few months. It's absolutely insane where it is, and there's a reason for that. And I'm not sure it's like 100% justified the valuation of the business, but it just shows you how important this is becoming.
Yeah.
The shift from oil and to something more sustainable. And we're going to see a lot more in that. We're seeing, after the pandemic now, the governments are basically forcing the big corporates around the world to reinvest when they come back now, to reinvest in green energy and
Yeah.
and in
Renewable.
sustainable. Exactly. So that's one other major area. Of course, blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I get back, out of its winter in the past couple of years. soaring. Of course, Bitcoin and Ethereum and some other currencies now.
Do you own any Bitcoin?
Yeah, I do. I've owned Bitcoins and Ethereum for a couple of years now, maybe
Nice.
3 years or so. Yeah, I've just held them or huddled, as they say. It's an interest. I'm more interested in the underlying technology for the future, the distributed technology compared to the coins in themselves. Over time, is going to become more and more digital. So it will happen. What coins that are going to be the ones, if Bitcoin becomes the gold or not, that's a different story. But the blockchain technology in itself will solve or solves a lot of problems. Right now, we are literally at the expansion phase with regards to applications and where this could take us. Exactly where the internet was back in the mid and 90s, where
Mm.
Amazon and Google and these companies grew up.
Wow.
So blockchain is another one. Health tech, I think we're going to see a massive change also using digital and AI. A lot of the jobs, generally, what doctors do today, radiologists and so on, is going to be a massive shift using technology built in. You've seen things like Fitbit and the Apple Watch and all of that
Oh, yeah.
taking the market by storm. So there are a number of areas like ed tech education online. We're going to see a lot of that. Of course, now a lot of schools and universities were not prepared, so we're seeing a massive shift in that one as well. So I think education, hopefully, that's one of my big thing for the rest of the world, in countries where they don't have a good education system, to make it available for them with
Mm-hmm.
simple technologies. So that's one of my favorite areas that I'm hoping to expand in the next few years, fueled by the pandemic now, especially agriculture.
I hope you guys are all taking notes here. Make sure you take these notes down. All right.
Yeah,
Look, this will be what you need to start investing in here. This is the future.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's so many areas, and you got. I mean, it's not some of these things are fairly easy. When you look at it, I mean, you've got almost 8 billion people on Earth soon, and you got to feed all of these guys. You can't feed them animals all the time. We're literally ruining the planet with that. So we need to find alternative. So Foodtech and Foodtech funds are expanding quite heavily. There's a lot
Mhm.
of activity in the marketplace now. Multi-billion companies have already been created. Of course, things like Beyond Meat, as an example,
Yep.
Impossible. Yeah. So agriculture, because of this same problem, has to become local, a lot more local, both for climate and availability. I mean, one thing that you notice now, maybe not as much in the US, but for sure here in Europe, it was very clear that in the middle of a pandemic, when you couldn't send food between countries anymore, and countries started themselves wanting now keep this to ourselves rather than sending it somewhere else. So it kind of created an awareness between countries, like, I want to be able to grow tomatoes and spinach and kale and
Yeah.
strawberries in my own country and even in my own city. I actually literally just invested
Urban
myself.
farming, right? Urban farming.
Exactly. It's urban farming, and there's this thing they call vertical farming now, where I literally just invested myself in one of those companies here in Stockholm that does vertical farming. And we're growing, spinach and kale and these things literally in the middle of Stockholm, in a
Crazy.
parking garage.
But
Yeah,
but that, you know what? I mean, that's gonna be, I think, fresher than getting it from the farm. If you're right in the city, you're growing it in the city, growing it properly, you're gonna bring it right to the store right there. It's probably, I mean, a few minutes fresh, you know?
that is absolute. We're shooting for actually people be able to order from an app and within half an hour have it on your plate.
Wow.
90% less water, over 60% less energy, 50% more nutrition, and no transportation cost and no climate impact from that perspective, apart from the positive one. So
Amazing. Amazing.
yeah. So these are a number of areas. I mean, one I mentioned also the other day with the bioengineering and
Yeah.
the dawn of CRISPR and introduction of being able to manipulate the genes and DNAs. We're seeing this now with the vaccines for the pandemic, right? With especially the Moderna and the BioNTech vaccines based on the RNA technology, which is really immunotherapies that has been used for cancers and other things. And
Mhm.
now, very quickly, they can actually create and test these vaccines in a matter of months, which is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a lot of bioengineering in the future, and it's one of, again, an extremely interesting area.
Now, thank you so much for all of that information, Tony. And you guys, if you are investing in stocks and different things like that, rewind this back and listen to that because this guy knows his stuff. Trust me. Just just look into all those new industries that that are going to start growing exponentially. I think as well. And now this is an Amazon seller focused podcast as well, or Amazon brand. So I'm going to pivot just a minute over here. And I want to know, given all of your expertise and your knowledge, I want to see if you were an Amazon seller yourself, you're an Amazon brand, given all the circumstances, the current circumstances and where we're going, what products would you sell on Amazon? What type of brand would you create? I'm very interested to understand that from you.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of areas that I mean, very much related to some of these things we just talked about. One that I've just over the past couple of years got even more interested in is children, things for children.
Hmm.
And I say things as a general category, whether it's clothing or toys or books or anything that has to do with children. And I talked to a lot of people, and there's not really, it feels like it's been the same thing for so many years. There's not a lot of innovation happening there, especially things using technology and children. Like you can easily make interactive books in a way, like combining apps. Can I take a picture or a few pictures of some of my kids' toys and upload them and create a book with a story for her? So she
Hmm.
can actually read about something that happened in her life or a toy in her life, and have like some kind of predefined text that could be involved or stories. And a lot of it, uh, books, educational things for children, uh, more kind of like organic stuff that they can get back a little bit closer to nature. Everything now is television and apps and social media, and I think there's going to be a bit of a for the sensible parents, I hope, not to just leave your kids sitting in front of all these screens, but actually
Yeah.
be more interactive with nature and more wooden kind of toys. We're starting to see some of these packages coming, but not in real volume yet. And having said that, you have on one side you've got those, getting closer to nature and animals and all of it, but at the same time you need to prepare them for the future. Learning to interact not just with a computer or an app, but with a robot.
Mm.
Teaching them how to think logically early on. How do I program without really coding? But you can start with a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old even to help them see and do and interact more in a logical manner with a screen or with a computer, and thinking about the future, that they're not teaching them these things in school in the schools are so behind generally in their schedules. So that's, for me, children is a big, like anything that has to do with children, I think it's a massive market
I
generally.
like
Children.
Yeah, I love your idea of kind of taking it back to the old school a bit, like wooden toys you mentioned. There's so much digital in your face, everything happening right now. Kind of what you're saying is kind of okay, let's take a step back. Let's go back to the basics, kind of with the wooden toys and make it more interactive, kind of with maybe some technology we have currently. And also another thing you mentioned, regarding kind of coding, but more in a more intuitive way for the children. And my kids, they both did a STEM class, and they actually they programmed their own robot. They built a Lego robot, and then they coded it in on the iPad, which is
That's
really
fantastic.
awesome to see. Yeah.
That's exactly it. I think the combination of educational kind of toys or games for kids that combine digital and physical things in one. So you can
Mm.
order something home, but also use maybe a digital app to do something with that thing. Is I think is a really interesting thing. Um, uh, Similarly, I see a lot of the companies I'm looking at is actually for pets.
Mm.
Everything that all the trends that we're seeing for humans now with organic food and healthy food and all of that stuff, those exact trends are happening for pets now. People want to feed their pets organic stuff. They want to feed them, healthy stuff. And there's literally like I think I just saw the first unicorn in that industry recently.
Really?
There's like yes, massive
Well,
companies, and they want to.
put me down for an investment maybe there. Let me know.
Yeah, I mean there are some really interesting funds just focusing on this kind of food tech type of businesses, and the pets is a massive market in so many different parts of the world, and it's expanding. So I think that will be a big thing to look into as well. Generally, anything with, of course, the same trend for humans, the healthy stuff, foods, vitamins, all of these. Vitamins has been a big market, of course, but I think foods and anything to do with health is becoming a massive market. I think it's just going to continue to grow, given where we are. But that's another thing that the pandemic, I think, highlighted a little bit, that having a lot of those diseases on a daily basis, even though if you manage diabetes or high blood pressure and all of that stuff,
Mm.
it still could kill you when a virus like this, or at least harm you really badly. So I think a
Yeah.
lot of people become very aware of their health even more now, and I think we're going to see a big ramp up in change of habits in that direction.
Well, there you guys go. There's some insights on some products you guys could possibly create. Listen back to this part of the podcast as well, and maybe you guys want to go into taking it back to the old school, some wooden toys or something like that, and kind of making it a digital spirit experience in a sense. Having kids, be interacting with creating some type of physical product and then or toy and then making it move, coding it to move around the house or something like that. Yeah, very great insights there, Tony. Thank you so much for that. And
Pleasure.
we'll go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I think I would probably just say the last thing I would probably add is local, right? If you go on Amazon now, in many places, you might be finding some stuff you like, but you're ordering them from China, you're ordering them from
Mm.
Germany. If you're living, and there's one the impact on climate for shipping, and two the service, the level of service you're getting. Sometimes the people you talk to, they don't even know what you're talking about, unfortunately, and the quality of the product. So I think selling things more local and not having to ship for, especially if it comes to pet foods or healthy goods, uh, that I would think definitely now, also post the pandemic, is going to be a massive trend.
Yeah, I totally agree with anything health food wise and stuff like that. And then there's some physical products I think you can still source, obviously from outside in China, things like that. Like I source
Of course,
most of my products from China. So none of them really have too much to do with something with health. So in that case, you keep your costs down by outsourcing in China, India, Indonesia. But then, yes, if you're going to sell some type of organic food to your pet or to a human, then yeah, you probably want to get that sourced locally in the U.S.
yeah,
somewhere. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Now, Tony, we're going to wrap this podcast up. And what I like our guests to do is give our listeners some type of life tip or some type of business tip that they can take away today and implement inside of their businesses or in their lives. Some type of life hack, growth hack, whatever you have for them. What type of tip do you have for them today?
Well, I say two things. I guess that come with age. I'll have to say, for me, it's the one thing I've always been doing is learning. just learn something new every day. I know a lot of people have heard that, but actually doing it on a daily basis adds so much value. There are some fantastic resources out there. There's like these, apps like Masterclass as an example, or just reading or listening to books if you're working out, and all of it. I think just making it a habit will help people. I think a lot of people don't realize how important that is. All of a sudden, you've done that for a year and you learn something every day, even if it's just for 20 minutes. It will completely change your views and perspectives on things. And the other one is of course health, because when you're young, you don't really take very good care of yourself. You just think you're immortal. Yeah, exactly. And I think just keep in mind that life is, and whatever you do in venture is a marathon. To make sure take care of yourself, to get some sleep, but also when you're selling stuff, make sure that you are you don't want to just sell in the short term. You want to build relationships with clients, make sure to provide great service. It's a marathon. You do a good job, they're going to recommend you. That's where the best businesses thrive, with customer support. So look at the things in a long perspective.
Great stuff, Tony. Thank you so much for that. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on the Sell Rank Win podcast with us here at Merchant Words. And I hope to have you on again. And of course, we will continue to talk and do investments and whatever else comes to be. And we need to have you back on to follow up on everything else. And rewind it back, guys. He had some good ideas for some products there to sell on Amazon. So rewind that back and listen to this again. But yeah, again, thank you so much, Tony. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Tommy. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. And if you got any value out of this podcast at all, please let us know at the place that you listen to it at, whether it be iTunes, Stitcher, whatever it is. Give us some love, give us an awesome review, and let us know maybe some things you want us to talk about on the next podcast. Until next time, guys, stay awesome and be awesome.